here today. Nothing but good things. Just to get things started right away, a couple of the Dominion items, due to Rosemary's has to recuse herself, and we're missing a person. If it's okay, we're going to defer that item and move it to a special session. Okay, Patrick, would you like to further expound?
To recuse herself, and Councilmember Rouse is not able to attend. We need a supermajority to pass the Dominion item on the agenda today, so we won't be able to take that up as a city council. And Mayor, you and I discussed the possibility of having a special session for a vote on next week's workshop.
Yeah, and there was time sensitive on this too, correct?
Correct, Mayor.
Yeah.
Dominion has said they'd like to close before November.
Okay, so just to let you folks know right up front. Okay, and at this time, let's go ahead and get forward. We're going to have a busy day. And the first council thing is the OSHA Volunteer Fire Department. Going forward, recommended by myself and Councilmember Taylor.
Chief Richardson.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. My name is Wayne Richardson. I've been the Fire Chief of the Oceana Volunteer Fire Department since 1983, and I've been a Volunteer Battalion Chief in the Virginia Beach Fire Department since 1991. We have a short PowerPoint presentation for you concerning the request that we have for funds to purchase a replacement and backup support truck for our organization. We were previously awarded $150,000 to purchase a vehicle prior to COVID. A lot of things transpired that negated our ability to purchase that vehicle. We are now attempting to reinvent the wheel, and that price has gone significantly higher, and I can explain that as we go through. This is the Oceana Volunteer Fire Department that you can see there when they were incorporated back in 1948. The first fire station, actually the second fire station we had was at 204 First Colonial Road. It was in place from 1952 to 1973, and that building cost $1,100 and one truck. We moved into the fire station we are currently in, 1201 Bain Drive. In 1973 to the present, that building back in 1973 cost $379,000. The first salvage truck that we had was a 1966 Mamakai bread truck that we painted white and put a red light on. It had no air management system and very limited lighting and storage capabilities. It had 4 on the floor, which most people can't drive now. And that was the cab of the truck.
I can.
I can too.
Ditto.
The second and third salvage truck evolutions we had, in 1985, we decided that we needed to go ahead and purchase a vehicle that actually had a mobile cascade system in it. The fire chief at the time wasn't in favor of a mobile cascade system, as there was a cascade system at Company 11, but it was antiquated and it broke down frequently, and they had just purchased one for the new fire training center. But we thought a mobile cascade system would serve us well, and we purchased a truck with it in 1985. In 1991, we re-chassied that vehicle. We put a compressor in it, which actually allowed us to continuously supply breathing air, and we increased the capacity from 3 to 5 in that vehicle, which extended the longevity of that vehicle to 2008. Out with the old, in with the new. We sold the old salvage truck at the time to a company in Missouri who turned it into an interstate crash truck. And we purchased, with our funds, a new support truck that had a breathing air system in it and in onboard lighting system for $210,000. And that was in 2008. We changed the name of the salvage truck to support truck because it better reflected the services that we performed. We also changed our names from volunteer firefighters, pretty much so, to support technicians, because we supported not only the Virginia Beach Fire Department, but the Police Department, Department of EMS, Public Utilities, State Police, and anybody else who needed a rehabilitation service. And that is that vehicle in action. I do have some statements that I will read. I don't know whether you've been previously given these or not, but at any time, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, or if you have any questions on the vehicles that we have shown there, please ask. Okay, in the 70s and through the 90s, we were transitioning from a mostly self-trained volunteer force to a credibly trained career force. There was a development of the Fire Training Center, and the first burn building was established mandating the use of self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA. It also concentrated on a more defined definition of firefighter safety and what that entailed. Fire stations 3, 7, 8, 11, and 18 all had salvage trucks at the time, none of them with breathing air capability. In 1985, we purchased that vehicle that did have breathing air capability. Salvage trucks initially performed bottle filling tasks with added onboard cascade systems, no compressors, and filled bottles in cut-off 35-gallon drums filled with water to keep the bottles cool while we were filling them. In 1990, with city funds, the Virginia Beach Fire Department purchased 2 new salvage trucks, identical units made to VBFD specifications. They replaced the volunteer-owned units in companies 3 and 11. They also had cascade systems, which allowed them to go ahead and refill SCBA bottles, but they were unable to replenish the air on the vehicles. Also in 1990, due to an obvious need to coordinate inconsistent volunteer salvage response across the city, upon recommendation of myself and VBFD volunteer program manager Kurt Nellis, career and volunteer station managers developed a duty salvage program. That program encompassed scheduling duty salvage dates that rotated between the companies with salvage trucks and had citywide response rather than just first due area. In 1991, we rechassied the truck and were able to go ahead and put an onboard German-made Bauer air compressor on the vehicle. In the mid-1990s, Green Run, Company 18, transferred their salvage truck to EMS Kempsville Station 9, and that became the first city response vehicle for support functions. They provided nabs, they provided water, they provided the things that firefighters needed on emergency scenes. Company 11 ended up staffing their units sporadically, and Salvage 7 basically became the pariah of the volunteer system in the program. It was there and in service, but nobody wanted to drive it, especially after the brakes failed at the intersection of Independence and Virginia Beach Boulevard. In 2001, due to the increased training and certification requirements of VBFD firefighters and the ever-decreasing number of volunteer firefighting personnel, the Volunteer Support Technician Program was established, redefining the role of the volunteer fire program within the city of Virginia Beach. The program went through several phases, keeping in line with the constantly changing needs of the VBFD, the training levels and number of volunteer personnel on hand, and the methods available to train and better qualified personnel to fulfill assigned and consistently changing tasks. In 2008, we purchased the vehicle that you see there pictured. It had a 5-man cab and had, at the time, the most up-to-date equipment and standards available on it. The backup salvage truck was soon to be used as a turn-in vehicle by the city of Virginia Beach, thus leaving Support 8, the vehicle you see there, as the only existing support vehicle in the city of Virginia Beach. The current Support 8 that you see there is aging and ever more so experience vehicle and equipment mechanical difficulties with currently no legitimate backup vehicle available. OVFD's original plan was to secure a backup vehicle in the near future, and plans were generated to do just that. VBFD countered with a request to jointly procure a vehicle that would serve both their needs and our needs as well. They submitted bid specifications to 2 vendors with price quotes coming back between $800,000 and $900,000 respectively, which was way too high. In the interim, the VBFD did sell its defunct hazmat vehicle, which is a pickup truck with a box on the back of it, to OVFD to use as a temporary backup support vehicle, which means we have to switch the equipment out of the current vehicle and store it as best we can into a pickup truck with a box on it. With COVID-19 then impacting our everyday lives and previously limited funds now evaporating, all plans were put on the back burner by the Virginia Beach Fire Department. OVFD continued to pursue backup and unit replacement options and was, after considerable time and effort, able to come up with a vehicle now specified at $599,999.99. The additional air management system is estimated to cost $50,000. We, OVFD, are requesting a grant of $500,000 to cover the purchase of this vehicle. OVFD has at its disposal the initial $150,000 grant funds that it can use to add to the purchase of this vehicle and the onboard air management system, which is not included in that quote. OVFD will use the additional funds generated by its annual fund drive to purchase the necessary support equipment required to outfit this vehicle. Questions?
Okay, any questions? Comments? Amelia?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for your presentation. I have, 1 or 2 questions.
Certainly.
You said 550,000?
Yeah. 600,000, basically, yes.
Okay, 600.
99 cents.
Yeah, $599.99.99.
Okay, 599.99.99. Oops. All right.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yes, amazing. With what you're trying to do, I know this is not in our regular budget process.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to know about that. And I just wanted to know, with what you do, have you all consulted with the fire department for trying to do this together or, work on something that way?
Oh, very much. As a matter of fact, that was their plan when we came up with the plan to have a backup unit. They wanted to go ahead and consolidate both their efforts and our efforts into one vehicle, and have a viable support unit for emergency services personnel on scene.
Okay, so at least you're saying they are in support of having this vehicle.
Yes, they have given their support as well as the support of the city garage in purchasing this vehicle.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Chris?
Thank you for the presentation. Just for the public, because Dr. Ross Hammond is correct, it is outside of the budget, and we've been trying to stick within the budget. Recently, there was a large fire in Councilman Remick's district. Can you give us an idea of, just on a weekly, monthly basis, what type of support you're providing so the public can know? Because I before we met, and I did share that transparently with the council that I'd sat down with you. Just give us an idea of what this department is doing on a monthly, weekly basis when fires and emergencies take place.
Our volunteer program is multi-function. Primarily, we provide a great opportunity for people to get familiar with all aspects of the fire service. For those that are wanting to be hired, it gives them the opportunity to go ahead and see what it's all about and make that decision before they put an application in. Secondly, our folks do all the functions on the fire ground except fight fire from a jump seat. They do those things that to some appear to be mundane tasks, providing bottled water, providing food substance, providing lighting, air, salvage covers, all kinds of equipment for supporting those firefighters that are going in there and putting the fire out. When the inspector is there or the investigator is there investigating the fire, in order to be able to put a ladder or an engine back into service, our vehicle will stay on the scene and it carries the equipment to allow the investigator to do their work. So our folks are there sometimes hours after engines and ladders leave the scene, supporting the investigators doing their job to figure out how the fire started. We give our volunteers the ability to work with career individuals, especially those that want to be hired, because some may be predestined to be ladder individuals, some engine individuals, and we have individuals who would also like to be on the special teams. The Virginia Beach Fire Department has a multitude of boat teams, hazardous materials teams, confined space teams that a lot of our volunteers, if they were not volunteers and responding to scenes, would never get to see or never get to experience before they actually put an application into a career department.
Okay, Chris, if you follow, then George.
And just in closing, can you give us an idea if we weren't to take any action until potentially maybe next year's budget or at a later time, what is the impact to your department?
Currently, as I said, the backup that we have is literally a pickup truck. The vehicle that we currently have, its maintainability is decreasing. It's not that it can't be fixed. It's that the parts are becoming harder to get. They are failing more frequently. We have ongoing problems with that vehicle that the city garage has basically told us live with, because you don't want us to go ahead and go through the expense and the time it's going to take to fix this problem. So we're on the decreasing side of the maintainability of this vehicle, and it, like any other vehicle, it could serve us through the next year or the year after that, or it could crap out tomorrow. And I've got no backup if it does.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, Josh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, sir, for your volunteerism and that of your colleagues in your service to our city.
Thank you.
I'm trying to kind of make sense of what this $500,000 ask is, across our other needs, and I guess my question to you would be, and I guess to the manager in some extent too, what if a request for this vehicle did not appear in our budget this year, and it did not even it didn't come to us in the form of a requested but not funded item. I'm just wondering, how does this fit in with our bigger needs? Because I know engines are, I don't even know how many millions of dollars now, right? And same with ladder trucks, and I know that we I don't know where we are in terms of those kinds of needs. So that would I guess just be one part of my question, and then the other part of the question is, we all, and I know I'm sure I know I speak for all the council members here, that we tremendously value all of our volunteer services, to include fire and rescue. I know that we've in the past extended loans as opposed to grants, and so I was just wondering, how to reconcile this ask with others that might come from our volunteer community, when they look to acquire additional vehicles in the future, and if that puts us in kind of a tight spot to say yes to one and no to others.
To the first part of your question, we're providing service to not just the fire department. We are providing service to the police department and Department of EMS and anybody else who asks for rehabilitation services. With the supply chain the way it is right now, if we're ordering a vehicle today, we're not even going to see it for 2 years. And the price is going up progressively, quickly, much more quickly than it was 2 years ago, let's say. The price of the vehicle that we originally, that we're looking at right now at $600,000 was $100,000 less a year ago. It's just that we feel that we're at a point where we've got to do something now in order to be ready and be able to respond in the future. The other aspect of it is your second part of the question.
Loan versus grant.
Loan versus grant. That vehicle that you see on the wall there was purchased with a loan from the city of Virginia Beach, and we did pay it back monthly. Quite frankly, that's when we were in a much better financial status than we are right now. The amount of money that the citizens are able to give us, although it's well appreciated, isn't reaching the standards that it's going to take to go ahead and purchase another vehicle right away. So if we had to take out a loan for that vehicle, we wouldn't be able to pay it back within a year. We're going to have to extend that loan out significantly further than that. So our first request is to let's see if we can get this vehicle on the road here in a couple of years and be able to support any emergency service in the city that it wants.
Okay, Rosemary, then Amelia.
I really, truly appreciate volunteerism in our city, and thank you for what you do. In fact, when I was the VML president, that was the theme for that year, is volunteerism, and how we harness the volunteers from our city that saves the taxpayers a tremendous amount of money, as well as
Yes, we remember your visit to the station.
as well as giving a big the taxpayers a big break, but also to serve the city even better than we do. I just sort of to follow up on what Josh was asking about the loan versus the grant. I do have a concern that the rescue squad works so hard, the fundraisers, the different things that they do to pay their loans back. And I'm not sure how they would perceive this if we were to do a grant versus a loan when they have to do a loan. So just wanted to say that, and it's not really a question, but I am concerned about the rescue squad and what they might be thinking. Thank you.
Okay, Amelia, and then Barbara.
Okay, I just wanted to give a suggestion, especially that you said the fire department and others are supportive of this, in unity, their strengths. So maybe if you got a letter or something from the police, the EVMS, backing this emergency need out of budget, I think that may help. But right now, all we have is, what you've mentioned to us, and what Councilman Wilson has mentioned, the loan versus the grant, and also what Councilman Schulman's mentioned. That may give you, a stronger approach to us. Just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Barbara?
I noticed in the city manager's staff report that he said that one of the sources for funding, if we decided to do this, would be redirecting funds from the American Rescue Plan Act. Isn't there a time limit on when that funding has to be spent, and where are we in that time frame?
Yes, there's a time limit. We're currently doing a review right now to see if there's an opportunity for redirection of any of the programs. So I think what we've been seeing, and we're not ready to present it to council yet, is that there are some firms who have finished their project and there may be some money available left that council could redirect. But we need to do some more completed staff work in order to bring that to you all. Our target frame for that was probably the beginning of the year of 2024 that we'd hope to bring that to you. But basically, the funds have to be encumbered by December 2024, and they have to be spent by December 2026, right? So if there is significant funds, council could use this for this opportunity or many others. If council also desires with this opportunity, we could evaluate this as part of the budget process and give you a more holistic picture of where this fits in what we would recommend to council as a staff, but right now we're not necessarily sure what's available for American Rescue Plan Act. I think the staff is just articulating that this is an appropriate source based on what the federal government authorized for the use of the funds. And we do think there may be some opportunity for council to have some discretion to redirect some American Rescue Plan Act funds, because some of the projects that you approved are coming in below what we anticipated, but we don't know enough yet, and we have to look at all the American Rescue Plan Act program to kind of give you a more holistic picture, because it may need to be that you may need to redirect funds to other projects who may not be coming in under budget.
I noticed you said that the first 150,000 was from the City Council Pandemic Reserve. Was that CARES Act money, or was it some of that other federal money that was passed through?
I think, Councilmember Henley, you remember when we had that really weird opportunity with the CARES Act money, where right before the CARES Act money was about to expire, we identified an opportunity to cover city staff salaries that worked as first responders to COVID-19. And then council used that to cover that opportunity, which freed up significant general fund dollars. And then council then directed a certain portion of that general fund dollars to be served as a pandemic reserve to address pandemic-related needs. At the time, I think there was around $10 million available for emergent pandemic-related needs. And at this time, that council determined that this was one of those needs that to get them the vehicle may help allow for a better response to pandemic-related emergencies.
I think we made an awful lot of that money available to nonprofits. I mean, anybody that applied for it was pretty well assured of getting it and did get it, so.
You're correct.
All right, well, I think if we look at these sources, it may help answer some of this concern, but if it's the pass-through money that we've gotten, I think that, we might want to look at it.
Okay, anyone else at this point? Yeah, let me just say thank you very much for your long and tenured service. It obviously is valuable. You helped Virginia Beach grow into the city it is today. And if I can make a suggestion about the possibility of perhaps another fire department, whether it be a civilian or military, that may have equipment that they may be phasing out that may be repairable, maybe the short-term solution to what we may need. I'm willing, through the group I'm with, Harumpha, Hampton Road Military Facilities Allowance, maybe put out a thing to some of the military bases if they're going to be replacing equipment that's still serviceable. This could be an option. Patrick?
So, Mr. Mayor, I think the takeaway for me and staff is to evaluate this as part of the budget process as it relates to the other fleet needs that the city has as well, and also to do some homework as it relates to if there's an opportunities for American Rescue Plan Act that we bring this forward as one of those things that you may want to consider redirecting American Rescue Plan Act funds for.
Everybody concur with that? Okay, thank you. Hey, thank you once again for your service.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on, we got a good presentation coming up, a 2023 Resort Events Economic Impact Studies with Nancy Hellman and Dr. Vince Maggini.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, as we mentioned previously before, staff, we sought to get economic impact studies done on 5 key marquee festivals that happened in the beach this year. And at this time, Dr. Magnini is going to give a presentation on economic return based on the investment that council's directed to these projects. And after that, our Director of Conventions and Visitors Bureau, Nancy Hellman, will provide council a briefing on the impact on festivals to seek your feedback as it relates to next steps.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, well, good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, Mr. Duhaney and Mr. Stiles. We're here today to give the results of the Convention and Visitors Bureau's 2023 Resort Events Economic Impact Studies. As you know, festivals and special events contribute to the Virginia Beach economy by attracting visitors, increasing expenditures, and enhancing community identity and quality of life. We conducted these studies to evaluate the economic impact that festivals and special events have on our community. Today, we'll take a deep dive into the return on investment and how Virginia Beach is benefiting by supporting events. However, before we get into the reports, I'd like to talk about how we got here. The community asked for a more substantial event program to drive tourism and again, add to the quality of life for our citizens. So we looked for opportunities and met with event producers, which ultimately led to events that we experienced this past summer. As you can see from the chart, events are still rebounding post-pandemic. There's a notable mention on this chart that we did not close completely during COVID, the COVID year of 2020, like the rest of the country. We were able to find creative ways to host events throughout the city. The blue represents permitted events in the resort area, and the orange represents events throughout the city. The 2023 data was pulled as of October 11th in real time, so we expect that number to change. This slide simply is showing the location of our oceanfront events that have taken place so far. Our resort management team tried to ensure distribution of events, activations throughout the oceanfront area, and worked tirelessly to meet with stakeholders, residents, and others that were impacted by the major festivals and events directly outside of their doorsteps. This map does not include small events like beach weddings and Beach Street USA activations. In just a moment, I'll be turning the presentation over to Dr. Vince Magnini with the Institute for Service Research to review his findings of 5 studies that he's conducted so far. Those include the Bulls and Barrels Beach Rodeo, the Something in the Water Festival, Jackalope, North American Sand Soccer Championship, and Beach It. Dr. Magnini will also be studying the Neptune Festival, Boardwalk Art Show, and Virginia Jeep Festival. We hope to be able to come back and share that information with you at a later date. I'm sure you're curious how we selected the events that we studied. The events that are in the first column are first-year events. The middle column are legacy events, and the far column are in their second year. So we thought it was wise to review those events that either in their first or second year, and also in addition to some of our legacy events. It's a great cross-sampling of events, and we hope to expand on this in the future. As you're aware, data is important when making strategic business decisions. Before I introduce our presenter, I'd like to take a moment to thank Lyndon Remus, Gretchen Hudome, Keith Piper, and Jackie Scheller, as well as the entire team from the City Auditor's Office. The City Auditor's Office spent a significant amount of time reviewing methodology, event outcomes, certifying data, and various financials. Members of the Auditor's Office are in attendance in the audience and will be available for questions as needed. Also, a special thank you to Kevin Chatelier and Katie James and the entire team at the Budget Management Services Office for their assistance with this process. I'd also like to acknowledge the members of our hospitality community that are here today and thank them for their support. Also, a special welcome to the event organizers that joined us today. They have been gracious participants in this process and provided important data and information so that we could complete these studies. Without them and a team of passionate volunteers, hardworking staff, and supporters, none of this would be possible. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Vince Magnini with the Institute for Service Research. Dr. Magnini prepared these reports and is the executive director of the Institute for Service Research. Dr. Magnini is ranked as one of the top 12 most prolific hospitality researchers worldwide in a recent global ranking study. He's a U.S. Fulbright Scholar and has published 7 books and more than 250 articles and reports. He's also been featured on National Public Radio's All Things Considered, With Good Reason, Pulse on the Planet, and cited in the New York Times and the Washington Post. The Institute for Service Research is a marketing research and economic modeling firm headquartered right here in Virginia Beach. Dr. Magnini, the floor is yours.
Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Members of council, thank you. Esteemed colleagues, appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and get started. And thank you for the very kind introduction. And I know I just said thank you, but really, someone else we need to thank, perhaps a body, would be the folks that work these events. Think about when we have a backyard barbecue for 20 or 30 people, how tired we are the next day. Serving thousands and thousands of visitors to our fine city is really remarkable. So let's take a look at some of the research inputs that we had. So this is input-output modeling for economic impact. So just very briefly, we had a visitor survey, and the way that we do visitor surveying is we survey folks right after they leave. That way we have a complete picture of how much money that they spent and a complete picture of their satisfaction. So right after we left, the event organizers sent out the surveys through email and social media channels, and in all 5 of the completed studies, we had scientific sampling that was it was adequate for the in-plan modeling that we're going to talk about in a moment. The event data sheet, what that was, the event organizers were given a sheet and were asked questions such as, other than the visitor spending, was there anything else that prompted economic impacts? Was there any other fresh money coming in from sponsorships? Anything. So they described that on these sheets. They described their attendance, how they monitored their attendance. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Ticketing data was also used, particularly when it came to zip code analysis, because impact from non-Virginia Beach residents is significantly higher in the model than residents. We'll talk about that. And then Nancy and her office were kind enough to share the STAR reports, the Smith Travel Analytic Hotel reports that report occupancy, average daily rate, revenue per available room. So we use that data. And lastly, Virginia Beach municipal records. So the information in the model, such as how much the city spent, that was provided to us by the city, and it was, of course, reviewed by the auditing team. And regarding the analysis that we did, the surveying platform is called Qualtrics, and so that's where the data was captured from the surveys. And it's also a pretty robust platform for data analysis, and so most of the analyses were used in there. Until we got over to an economic impact platform called in-plan, and that's where we get the secondary effects, the induced effects and the indirect effects that we'll talk about in a few minutes. And then the results, what you're looking for today, would be the economic impact, be what's called the value-added effect. That's the contribution to the gross domestic product of Virginia from each event. In-plan gives us that information. And then there's another key point that likes, I've done these studies for quite some time, and it seems like the media likes to latch on to this one quite a bit, and for good reason. It's the tax revenue generation that's provided by these events. And we honed in specifically on the tax revenues that were realized within the city of Virginia Beach. And we estimated the number of hotel room nights each event was responsible for. Return intent, so as the CVB and the city moves forward in decision-making regarding future years, what's important is understanding whether the attendees would like to come back or not, so capture that on the survey data. And lastly, return on investment for the municipality. We take the revenues that the city earned, and we take the money that the city spent, and we do some simple math, and we get an ROI. So here we go. Please know, before I pull up the first event, that all of the economic outputs are presented as ranges. The reason they're presented as ranges is because a lot of estimates go into the model. So in order to pretend that you have estimates that go in and it can magically spit out an exact number, that's probably not realistic. And so depending on the particular outcome, typically we're looking at 6% up and 6% down, but a couple of the metrics got a little bit narrower and a little bit wider, and we'll take a look at those. Here we go. This was a first-time event, as Nancy said. It was the Bulls and Barrels Beach Rodeo in April down at the south end of the beach. And we had 1,900 folks both days. Yeah. That red box that just appeared there, so 45% of individuals who attended that event, they were Virginia Beach residents. And those individuals, the spending profiles were not huge, as you can imagine. It was an afternoon event, but the average person who was a Virginia Beach resident spent $64.88. However, we only included 34.92% of that spending in the economic modeling because on the survey, we asked Virginia Beach residents, if you would not have gone to this rodeo here in the beach, would you have spent this money inside of Virginia Beach or outside of Virginia Beach? And we only count the money that would have leaked out of the city because that's true economic impact. 55% were non-Virginia Beach residents. They spent more, which makes sense. They spent $185 roughly each. And for them, we ask, what portion of your visit to Virginia Beach was because of this focal event? So if someone was here anyway and say, hey, there's a rodeo going on, let's go to it, and they would have already been here anyway, then it doesn't make sense to count their spending because they would have already spent it here. So we capture that on the survey. We call that primacy. And the primacy of spending for non-Virginia Beach residents was 88.82%. So that's the amount of their spending that was included in the modeling. Sold between 414 and 466 hotel rooms. And regarding economic impacts, the direct effects were between 351,000 and 396,000. But when we look at an event that's already happened in the past, it is quite fair not to just look at direct effects, but it makes more sense to look at the total effect. So the indirect, that is the money of suppliers to the businesses that spent the money, and then the induced is the increased income of local residents. When you have an event that happened in the past, you want to look at the total because you know the direct happened because we captured that. Therefore, the secondary effects are axiomatic. It's completely different than if you look at a feasibility study looking at something in the future. Because the direct effects are there, then we know the secondary effects have to be there also. So the economic impact of the rodeo was between $640,000 and $722,000. The contribution to the gross domestic product of Virginia, which is a subcomponent of that, $394,000. But then, as I stated, the number that a lot of people are interested in is the one that just got the square around it. This event earned between $31,000 and $35,000 in tax revenues for the city of Virginia Beach. Regarding likelihood of coming again, it was quite high for this event. 85.59% of attendees said that they would like to come again next year if offered. And lastly, before we move to the second event, here is the return on investment. And I purposely took a screenshot from the report because I've had some unfortunate circumstances in other municipalities where this gets misquoted in the media, so that's why I took a screenshot, word for word from the report. So the city earned, I'm reading, the city earned between $31,000 and $35,000 in tax revenues, along with approximately $90,000 in ticket revenues. The city's expenditures, on the other hand, are tabulated at approximately $148,000. Therefore, employing these figures, it can be estimated that every $1 spent on this event by the city yielded a return between 79 cents and 89 cents. And so that means that the return on investment on this particular event was negative because it was under $1. All right, and if you're curious how we're going through the order, I'm just doing them how they fell on the calendar. So the next one would be something in the water. Something in the water, they had 33,000 in attendance both days, and as we all know, a tornado came through, sadly, on Sunday, and we had a weather cancellation on Sunday. In fact, Friday was a partial day. 33% of attendees at Something in the Water were Virginia Beach residents. Spending profiles are high, $626 roughly for local residents. Economic leakage, so only 34.15% of this is included in the modeling. Because again, we asked, if you wouldn't have spent it there, would you have spent it outside the city? So we look at the leakage. And on the other hand, non-residents were looking at 67%, and it makes sense that they would spend more in the city. They spent $823 on average. And the primacy of their spending was 93.63%, which makes sense because most people came because of Something on the Water. It was not an afterthought for most people. In case you're curious about this, we asked on the survey, we said, did you have anyone in your travel party who came to Virginia Beach who did not have a ticket? And that's where that came from. And so 2.68% of the travel parties had one person without a ticket, and right down the line there. So 1.73%, 2 members had a ticket, because those folks who are hanging around town also create economic impact. Not as much economic impact, but they create economic impact, and they need to be accounted for in the modeling. The estimated hotel room nights was between 12,600 roughly and 16,700. The economic impact was between 15.2 and 17 million, but again, it's best to look at total. Total was 26.1 million, 29.2 million economic impact in the city of Virginia Beach. Contribution to the GDP of Virginia, 16.1 million in value-added effects. And again, the number that a lot of folks like to look at would be the tax revenues. And so that's in that square, that red square there, between 1.49 million and 1.68 million in city tax revenues. Regarding who would like to come back again next year, 78.92% said they would be likely or very likely to come next year should the event be held. And the very last slide for this event is the return on investment for the city. And again, I'm just going to read it. The city earned between 1.49 million and 1.68 million in tax revenues, plus approximately 54,000 in municipal parking revenues. The city's expenditures, on the other hand, are tabulated at approximately 1.48 million. Therefore, employing these figures, it can be estimated that every dollar spent by the city yielded a return on investment between $1.04 and $1.18. So that's the ROI for Something in the Water. I do have one small red circle right there where it has the number 2 in it. This is consistent with the previous study done by ODU's Draga Center in 2019. For those of you who remember, they actually discounted $259,000 from the city expenses because this is what the city used to spend on the College Beach weekend. So to remain consistent with their methodology, I adjusted that for inflation, and I took $305,000 off the city's expenditures. All right, number 3 of 5, here we go. This is also a new event, Jackalope, and this event was different in that it was free to the public. No ticket was needed, which makes attendance estimation a little bit more fuzzy. So the event organizer, they had folks with clickers, and they reported the attendance to me, but then I used the survey data to make downward adjustments based upon people who enter and re-enter. And that's the way that it worked. And this, I readily admit this slide is a little bit cluttered because we found that there were different spending profiles for athletes and non-athletes. So instead of having 2 columns of data, there are 4 columns. But essentially what we're getting at here is this. About 48% of folks at this festival at Jackalope were Virginia Beach residents. About 52% were non-residents. And the spending profiles are across the bottom there. So the local residents spent 145 or 163, depending upon whether they're an athlete and they were competing. And then the non-residents spent 532 or 490, also depending upon whether or not they were an athlete. This event yielded between 7,672 and 9,864 hotel room nights in Virginia Beach. So the attendance volumes, this has to do with their clicker data, as I was telling you, and I made adjustments for re-entry. So all told, it was about 32,650, but that's across all 3 days. The leakage was 28.76% for locals, and the primacy was 97.51% for non-locals. Now, regarding economic impact, let's just go to the total effects. We have 12.5 million, 14.1 million. So that was the range for the total economic impact of this first Jackalope Festival. Contribution to the gross domestic product of Virginia is estimated between 7.3 and 8.3. It brings to an average of 7.8. And then the number that gets looked at quite a bit would be the tax revenue generation. The tax revenue would be between 592 and 668,000. This event did have a lot of people who claimed that they'd like to come back next year. 93.65% said that they would be likely or very likely to come again next year. And interestingly, you'll read it in the reports that this event also attracted a lot of individuals who'd never been to Virginia Beach before. That was something I found in the data that I didn't find much, because if an event's recurring, you're not going to get a lot of new people. But because this was the first one, 49% of people who drove 50 miles or more had never been to Virginia Beach before. So here we go. Return on investment. The city earned between $592,000 and $668,000 in tax revenues, plus an estimated $29,000 in municipal parking revenues. The city's expenditures, on the other hand, are tabulated at approximately $1.32 million. Therefore, employing these figures, it could be estimated that every dollar spent on this event by the city yielded a return between 47 cents and 53 cents. So this was a negative return on this event. Following the calendar, soon after, we had the North American Sand Soccer Championships. So, excuse me. There are the attendance figures. And the organization, in my assessment, does a really nice job knowing the ratio between athletes and spectators. And they had the data for a number of years, and then I corroborated that with the data that we collected this year. So we knew that for every athlete, you have 2.5 spectators. And then, of course, we have all the volunteers and referees and right down the line. All right, so only 23% are local residents, are local Virginia Beach residents. The rest bring fresh money from outside Virginia Beach. The local residents spend on average about $132, but only 67.98% of that gets included in the modeling to account for leakage. And as I just stated, almost 8 out of 10 come from outside Virginia Beach. Their spending profiles are higher, 279,000 roughly. And the primacy is 100%. So these folks are passionate about this event, and this event is why they came here. It yielded between 8,565 room nights and about 11,124 room nights. And then regarding economic impacts, so we have the direct up there between 7.2 and 8.1, but really the total should be the focus. So 12.3 million to 13.9 million would be the economic impact. And then the value added effect for the GDP of Virginia, 7.9 million. And then the tax revenues are there. This event earned between $648,000 and $730,000 in tax revenues for the city of Virginia Beach. This slide looks a little bit different than the previous slides because I piggybacked the economic impact questions off of their existing survey. And so this is worded a little bit differently than some of the previous, which is fine, but it still makes the same point. How would you rate the event overall? 78.92% rated it as excellent or above average. So for this particular study, this would serve as a proxy for return intent. Here we go, return on investment. The city earned between $648,000 and $730,000 in tax revenues, plus an estimated $25,000 in municipal parking revenues. The city's expenditures, on the other hand, are tabulated at approximately $44,000. Therefore, employing these figures, it can be estimated that every $1 spent on this event by the city yielded a return between $15.25 and $17.19. I know that this is a lot of material to get through, and it wouldn't be appropriate for me to try to tell jokes and dance around and everything, but we're almost done. So here we go. Beach Hit Country Music Festival. These are the attendance figures, and these were easy to measure because it was a ticketed event. On average, roughly 10,000 individuals a day. Roughly 1/3 were Virginia Beach residents. Spending profile for a Virginia Beach resident, about $258. But we only included about 41% of that in the economic modeling because that was the amount that would have leaked out of Virginia Beach. About 2/3 were non-Virginia Beach residents. Spending profile was pretty high, $732. The primacy was 92%. And we estimate that the total room nights that were responsible, this event was responsible for about 4,300 to 5,800. Regarding economic impact, the direct effects between 7 million and 7.9 million, and the total would be between 11.3 and 12.8. The contribution to the gross domestic product of Virginia, roughly 6.7. And the tax revenues for the city of Virginia Beach fell between 869,000 and 979,000. This slide looks a little different than the previous because I piggybacked off of Live Nation's existing survey. I added the 6 economic impact questions, and so they asked future visitation, with a yes or no question. Would you attend again in the future, yes or no? And roughly 95% said yes. Lastly, here's the return on investment. The city earned between $869,000 and $979,000 in tax revenues, along with approximately $46,000 in municipal parking revenues. The city's expenditures, on the other hand, are tabulated at approximately $473,000. Therefore, employing these figures, it could be estimated that every dollar spent by the city yielded a return between $1.93 and $2.17. There's nothing new on this slide right here. This is just a summary of what we've already covered. But if we click the totals, you can see the totals. Economic impact for these 5 events would be between 62.8 million and 70.7 million. The city revenues would be, excuse me, would be between 3.9 and 4.3 million. City's expenses would be 3.5 million. And there's the hotel room nights, 33.6 to 44,000. Okay? Huh?
Do you want to, I was going to keep going unless you want to stop and do questions first. I was just going to keep going, and then we could do questions unless you want to have questions first. Okay. We can open it up for questions on economic impact before we move on
Okay,
to.
Worth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, first of all, Nancy, thanks for the presentation, Selma and Dr. Agrino. You all recognize the folks that put effort into this great presentation, but also those that put these programs and activities and festivals together. And so I'd like for council to give everyone here in the room a round of applause that did all this, because it's an incredible effort, incredible impact on our city, especially at the resort, but citywide as well. So I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. As a follow-up, can I ask a couple of questions about the data? And I really do appreciate city staff going through this and thank them. On your parking, and I like what you did with leakage, but on parking, I just want to make sure on that the revenues stated here would not have already occurred. Did you take that into account? Was it value add? Was it additional parking revenue that would not have happened otherwise? I just want to make sure.
That is correct. Yes, we did.
All right. That's all.
Thank you.
Chris, did you have something?
No, sir.
Okay, anybody else at this point?
And just one more.
Yes.
So, and just to reiterate, I believe you stated that your range of certainty, if you will, is 6%. Is that an accurate?
So it was 6% up and 6% down for most of the metrics. One was narrower. Because the city data was so precise, I was able to take that down to 10%. But then the one that I had to take wider was the room nights, because sometimes event participants stack folks in the rooms without reporting it to hotels. So I took that wider, 14, 15%. But yeah, most of the metrics were 6 up and 6 down. That's correct. Yep.
Okay, Rosemary, then Chris.
This is incredible information that we really need, especially moving forward. So the two that didn't do quite as well were first-time events. Is there any predictability factor of, okay, it was the first year and they're going to improve in upcoming years?
Yeah, that's probably clean up. It's important to note that Jackalope was a free event.
Right.
Right, so there was a good way of getting direct city revenue from it, because basically they took the $1 million grant that was provided to them to make it free for residents and visitors, right? So that one I think will always, if they maintain a free event, it would always have that kind of same impact. Also important to note, that was also a nor'easter that weekend as well. So we had a significant amount of hotel stays, a significant amount of people actually coming down to the beach in the middle of what was basically a nor'easter, where we otherwise probably would have lost that weekend. The first item was barrels and pools and barrels. That one really was a novelty item where we're really trying to test something out to see if it makes sense. Nancy, you could probably speak more on that. Add on the Jackalope too if you feel like you need.
Yes, so the Bulls and Barrels Rodeo, just to sort of clarify, that was produced by Beach Events and I Am Going, which is our entertainment contractor at the oceanfront, which produces entertainment events for not only guests that are coming to Virginia Beach, but also our local residents. So we thought it would be interesting to study a couple of those events as well, which is why you're seeing that today. It was brand new for us, and when we get into the next portion of the presentation, you'll see some of the other success metrics that kind of come with an event like that.
Well, that one wasn't a big loser. I mean,
No.
20 cents on the dollar and the first time. Yes. Seemed like a really cool thing.
Yeah, it was a really fun event. I encourage everybody to come check it out next year if you're able to.
Yeah, Chris?
Thank you for the presentation. About Jackalope, I understand the ROI, depending on who you're talking to, can be different. This one seemed to be it brought so many people that had never been here to the area, but we did lose a significant amount of money. And we have I believe we have a 2 more year commitment. Do you have recommendations? How can we lower that amount, being that we know it's free and we have a commitment? Because to bring those people here that have never been here, that is a return on investment. But also we have taxpayers that probably don't want to continue to see an event lose 50, 60 cents on the dollar.
Sure, sure. Nancy?
Yes, thank you so much for the question. So the goal is always to, in year one, set the precedent and help it grow. So we do have a 3-year commitment, and it's our hope that the event will continue to grow and make a more significant impact. And then also for the first-time visitor to the city, you're absolutely correct. We love getting them here because they have a better chance of coming back at some other time as well when they fall in love with the city, just like we do.
Thank you.
Hey, Amelia.
Again, congratulations on the study. And I just want to make sure people remember the sand soccer and our regular soccer work together. Because as they're looking at things and improving their facilities and so forth, we must keep that in mind.
Yes, absolutely. And my colleagues from the North American Sand Soccer Tournament are here. So hello to Lauren and to Matt and to the board of the Hampton Roads Soccer Council. So, and you guys correct me if I don't do this right, but the North American Sand Soccer Championship is one of the largest fundraisers for the Hampton Roads Soccer Complex. So every dollar that they earn off of the North American Sand Soccer Championship is reinvested into the facility to help grow and expand programming and facility upgrades and maintenance and operations, just daily operations. Did I do that?
Yeah. Thanks. I'm happy to know that because of the hotel rooms and so forth in District 4 that's happening as for the regular soccer. And then I heard you mention, is it Jackalope that you mentioned I'm going, working along with that?
Yeah, so they actually assisted with the Bulls and Barrels Beach Rodeo,
Barrels.
and then one of the events that's coming up, it hasn't happened, the Jeep Fest that's coming up that we'll work with the city manager to get back on the calendar at the appropriate date to bring the information associated with that event.
Yeah, because that's important to show that the Pharrell, group is still helping with other, just besides the something in the water, because I recognize that I'm going. So I thought to put a shout out to them, helping us bring in new revenues.
Well,
Thank you.
you're also leading into the next section of the presentation, so that was a great lead-in. We didn't even plan that. Okay, so.
Right ahead.
Okay, so thank you for presenting the findings. So we all know that economic impact is only one driver when it comes to events taking place here in Virginia Beach, but community impact is also considered. The next 2 slides will show you a couple of important elements that these festivals and events left in our community. The CVB supported these events with proactive and reactive communications with out-of-market media, which resulted in nearly 100 articles, both print and online, totaling 2 billion impressions and an ad equivalency value of just over $19 million. Additionally, the community giveback was substantial. The event producers provided funding for scholarships, to rehabbing homes, to partnering with breweries, to donating meals, to working with the NBA to rehab basketball courts, to working with school systems on art projects that incorporated into the event sites, to donating sports gear to the Boys and Girls Clubs, and a special partnership also with the 4-H Club. So really, there was a significant impact all throughout our city from events that were not necessarily hosted in those districts. And we're thankful to the event organizers for donating their time, money, and resources to make our community a better place. You'll see some examples of that philanthropy on these 2 slides listed. And so we'd also like to share some operational impacts we've observed in the 2023 summer season. We're going to continue to analyze these observations and create efficiencies to modernize operations. These observations included balance and distribution of events that included location, date, size, scale, scope, and other community impacts. Community and staff impacts will be key considerations moving forward, and they're including, but not limited to, staffing impacts like public safety, public works, and beach operations, stakeholder impacts like distribution of events, access to businesses and food vendors, and community impacts like beach and boardwalk closures, limited access to establishments, and providing the guests and our community with the type of experience that we're known for here in Virginia Beach. So moving forward, we're seeking council guidance on the following consideration: the creation of a festival events task force or commission to advise staff and city council on the following: to review and provide feedback to modernize the resort event festival policy, which was last updated in 2005, review and provide feedback on City Code 4.1, research and provide feedback on updating the fee structure associated with hosting special events, provide feedback on vetting process for large-scale events, define measurements of success, and examples can include return on investment, economic investment, media impacts, and community impacts, propose a consideration for community festivals, an events grant program, including an awards process, and as needed, provide City Council with advice on items related to festivals and events. So in closing, I'd like to thank the members of the city staff for their dedication to the city's event program. This multi-departmental team of professionals delivers in a big way. They step up, they show up, and they make Virginia Beach shine, and I'm certainly proud to serve among them. Also, a very special shout out to the CVB team and especially our resort management office, who work day in and day out, year round, to provide customer service, support, and the implementation that sets us apart from the competition. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present today, and I'm available to answer any questions as well as the rest of the city team.
Thank you. Festival Commission, so glad that it's a recommendation. And the one that I passed out a couple weeks ago, it's close to what we want to accomplish, but it's not quite with this. So Patrick and I talked about this, to take that and generate some of the other ideas of what needs to occur and to make it to one thing. So we can hold off on, that's why we didn't have it on the agenda today. So if we can work on that a little bit more and then get that out to the council and then pass it sometime in November.
Yeah. So, Vice Mayor, following up the conversation, me and Nancy spoke, and we're working to put some edits and recommendations to you all and the members of council who sponsored that that piece of draft legislation, so you all can get it and socialize it amongst city council to see if it's something that council wants to bring forward for consideration.
So we were on the right track. We just, sometimes things have to be worked just a little bit more to make it the way we want it to be. So I'm really happy to see this and that we can all work together.
Great.
Okay, Worth, then Michael, and then Amelia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to follow up, I also support strongly a festivals committee, and we do have to get it right. So thank you, Ms. Hellman, for that presentation and that request. The public did want us, the city, to reactivate the resort, and I think this is a response to that. The public also wants to know the return on investment of city dollars in, as well as staff input and effort to these events to take place and festivals. So this is a $2.5 billion business, our city's resort tourism economy. So this is important, big, high-level stuff. It's very important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael, and then Amelia.
Thank you. Well, I'd just like to I think what Mr. Remick said is a perfect segue into something that I wanted to share. Two points, really. One is that as I think this is incredibly important to quantify and to measure and to have a sense of accountability, particularly as it relates to public investment. I do want to make sure that we note that, as an aside, that this public investment is from the TIP fund,
Correct.
Which is specifically designated for projects such as these and other tourism-related initiatives. So it's not competing from the general fund, and I think that's an important point. But more than that, I don't think you can quantify or measure the impact that some of the festivals have on the quality of life in our community. I know that there is some element of festival fatigue, as Vice Mayor noted in an earlier discussion. And I know that there are some members of the community who are skeptical of the programming schedule that has occurred at the resort and frankly other parts of the city. But I also talked to a lot of people, other people, young people in particular, who are really excited about the fact that the city of Virginia Beach is programming in a way that is representative of their lifestyle and their interests. And as it results to citizen satisfaction, sense of pride in one's community, and quality of life, excitement about a community both for residents and also for visitors. I don't think that all of those impacts came through in the study. And in fairness, I don't think that was the intent of the study.
Right.
But I just want to offer the qualification that I do think those are also very important elements, and that I hope that the public and members of this body take those considerations into account, as well as some of the other things that were included on the graph, tangible and intangible. And I think you did a great job of incorporating those. But I think there's even a broader picture, a general sense that one gets about, our community, from whether it's something in the water, which we, are all well aware of the excitement that surrounded that, or the experience that we had together at the rodeo. I attended the rodeo, and we had a fantastic time. Saw a cross section of folks from our community who were enjoying it. I think it was the first rodeo I've ever seen in person. Seen it on TV. I learned a few things that I did not know about rodeos from being there.
We don't have to go.
Okay.
I will say that we're really proud of the programming, that there really was something for everybody this year. And it gave everybody a reason to come out and enjoy. So we're really proud of that.
So I want to make another point, but I mean, so that's just something you just can't put on a graph.
Absolutely right.
And, I think some of those things are, we have to have a conversation as a community about where does the festival fatigue begin and the excitement end. I don't know the answer to that. That's some things we have to sort through. But anyhow, the other thing that I want to talk about is the Festival Commission. Because I have enjoyed working with Vice Mayor Wilson and others and the discussion around this. But there is one element of what you recommended that I have a concern about, and that is propose a community festival and events grant program, including an award process for consideration. And I understand the intent of that, but I just want to share another perspective with you and also with the body. Community festivals have an incredibly important impact on all the things that I just mentioned. I'm not going to list those things again. And I am not, at this time, do not hold the position that they should have a different process than the other types of festivals that we use for so-called economic development or the big investments. I think that devalues the impact that a community festival has for visitors and for members of our community, for citizens. We are seeing, and as I've stated before, in a level of participation that actually reflects our community in a historic way. And I don't think we should turn back or set up bureaucratic hurdles by which those community organizations are able to participate. I think they should have the same. Well, I don't know whether the same dollar, is the scale of the event or the dollars the distinguishing factor, or is it the fact that they're a community organization and one is not from our community? I'm uncomfortable with those distinctions.
Okay.
And I think that we have to do more work on that to make sure that we have the same levels of vetting and other things for the big ones that we have for the other ones. And Mr. Taylor and I have talked about these festivals at length. And one of the things I think, Chris, if I get this wrong, please let me know. But I think that one of the things that we agree on is that you have an economic impact and then you have a community cultural impact.
I agree with you.
And so we can't prioritize necessarily one over the other. Cultural impact, community impact is valuable. Just ask those people who have attended festivals that never had an opportunity to do so before in their lives, never imagined. I'm not going to list the different constituencies, never imagined they even could have a celebration like that at the Virginia Beach Resort or in such a public space. I know what that is like, and I think we are doing a disservice to those individuals if we, put them in a separate bucket and then prioritize the so-called moneymakers over them because cultural and community investment is also a worthy investment.
Yes, we're going to go where council sends us. So we just have been hearing the conversation and put down suggested work that we could come back to you with.
Those
Yeah,
comments were as much for council as they were for,
Okay,
if
thank
not
you.
more so.
Okay, Amelia, then Chris.
Okay, just wanted to mention, I concur with my fellow colleague on what he's saying. And maybe one approach for that, we have a whole year's calendar of all what's coming up. So that way, the smaller groups in the community who want to do something at the oceanfront or somewhere will see where they can fit in instead of last minute coming up, well, we want to do this today, or last minute. That way you see a broader picture. So that's one.
Okay.
I also wanted to mention that what you did with the study, it's important that we're becoming a little bit more safer as a city. And a lot of people way back would say, I won't come to Virginia Beach because X and Y. But I think we've kind of crossed a lot of that. And that should be mentioned, that we're a safer city with what we're doing for these events. Because look at the amount of sand soccer and other areas. And per, danger or whatnot, people felt comfortable. I was out for something in the water till midnight. And someone says, you are out here? Yes, I was. But
I can vouch for.
yeah. So that should be mentioned, that we are a safer city than maybe 10, 15 years ago overall. Another thing I want to say for that, something in the water, this year they had something free at Mount Trashmore.
Yes.
Whereas before, it was all on the oceanfront. So they're listening to us and making, some of those changes. I think, that's an important point. And I'm a testimony. When you mentioned the NBA on this Saturday, we couldn't do it last week, but we'll be revealing the rendering, where they're going to come out to Lake Edwards, which is part of the Virginia African American culture area, and with a promise to refurbish that, which will bring pride. A lot of those people don't have transportation to get all the way to the oceanfront, but just saying that NBA and SITW thought of us, that's huge. So I want to thank them, for that. And thank you all for all you do.
Thank you very much.
Chris?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Nancy. Just an observation, and I want to shout out the soccer because we've had these discussions around sports marketing. We went through the budget.
Yes.
We had some moving of money to some other entertainment projects. And I want to point out that this sand soccer tournament, which receives very little money from us, upon this report brought in most people, stayed almost as long as the other events, significant lodging, and there's been a lot of complaints from some voices in the community that there's too many food vendors. But when I look at the numbers and we look at the data, these families, and as someone that played travel sports and collegiate sports, we know that when you travel with your children, you stay at the event, you don't leave the soccer and go to Wendy's, you don't leave soccer. And so it's important because as we're investing these dollars, this report shows me the two most successful events in terms of bringing new people here and spend were sports.
Yes, sir.
When you look at the complaints about vendors, these families spent $28 more at restaurants, but they also spent $30 with the tournament vendors. And that is a good balance. And so I say these comments because when we're looking at how we invest, sports is never going to be a loser. When you're bringing 5 people that have to eat, going to sleep somewhere. And when I look at the rates, I don't know how the hotel community did this, but 150 average per night, roughly, versus something in the water, which was not even in the peak season, which is a much higher rate. It's just something to think about. And so, sir, you may have a comment. I didn't know.
Yes, all your points are
Could you
true
get
about.
behind the microphone, please?
Thank you, sir. All your points are very well taken, but I do want to make one clarification, and I should have said this earlier. When you see a rate in the slide deck, that's divided by all the folks that came, including the day visitors, and so that draws it down. So, in other words, that's not the average daily rate because the day visitors are included in that. But that's just a minor clarification. Your point still stands.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, and again, thank you to our sand soccer community. I think this will be our 30th year coming up, so it's definitely a marquee event for our city.
Hey, Worth?
I just want to pile on too on sand soccer. I mean, it's really truly authentic Virginia Beach sports. We've talked about it. And Jackalope, I think, yes, it was the first year, but I think it will increase the next 2 years. It was a Northeaster. But sand soccer really is, many, many goals this year with sand soccer. And it's been around for a long time. So I just want to give a shout out to them. And it also these events that don't cordon off the oceanfront and don't impact those who live there, and the restaurants and the vendors throughout the resort profit more when it's not closed off and the event's not closed off to the public. And sand soccer and Jackalope were those. Because that's an important item with the vendors on Atlantic Avenue and Pacific Avenue.
I agree. Well, I just want to thank you for a report, and let me just say this, and let me say how much I concur with everything that's been brought up by my colleagues. There's an accounting term called goodwill, and you can have a bottom line with the money on it, but a company might be able to sell it a lot higher profit because it has such a goodwill and a good reputation. And I think what we want, I think everybody in this room's objective is get people to come to the beach that we have come to know and love, know that they're going to feel safe. But if you look at the eclecticness and the diversity of the type of events, there's something there for everyone to come. And we're going to keep on. And then taking, the lowest performing and then the highest performing. And I concur what was said. With Jackalope, yes, it was free, but boy, was that goodwill. And Michael was talking about a community event. You could feel the electricity in the air there when you saw 4-year-olds on skateboards that were able to go there and with their families. And I'll tell you, I was there on Nor'easter Day. The sale of sweatshirts was pretty high that day from the vendors. But there was still that feeling of electricity and positivity and people being at their beach. And then you go to the sand soccer. And, I went to St. Louis University, and St. Louis is very big on soccer. I mean, they have churches with 2 soccer fields on them because it's such a high. But as we start thinking, what we're doing here, we're giving people stuff to do. And when they got there, maybe that's why the crime is down so much. We're giving people things that they want to do right there. And then once again, I think the reinvestment of, soccer as an activity that, making us a healthy city. But, getting people playing team sports and learning how to interact with each other. Learning how to lose as well as win is that's the community value that Michael was talking about. So I'll tell you what, I think, but I got to point out one statistic, and I got to give a lot of credit to, the prior councils and management. In 2020, we had events when a lot of other people didn't. And that kept us going. It kept a lot of businesses from going out of business. And we had the only surf competition in the world that year. We kept it going. But once again, these are the type of events that really help define us as a city and as a community. And for that, I say kudos.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, following council's discussion regarding the RFQ process for Rudy Loop, council decided that they wanted to move forward with a park. And at that discussion, council asked us to bring forward a presentation on what it would look like to fund a park design. So at this time, Michael Kirschman, our Parks and Recreation Director, will provide council a briefing on the RFQ process and also get
Okay,
council's
let's just hold
concurrence
off a
related to
minute.
funding.
Sorry, there was a lot of us.
Thank you.
Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Should I start now, or do you want to wait a minute? Go start.
we're good.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor Dyer, Vice Mayor Wilson, members of council, and Manager Duhaney. It is my distinct pleasure to be here today to talk about next steps for bringing a world-class iconic park to Rudy Loop. So briefly, the presentation today will cover the staff recommendation on how to proceed with an RFQ process, the timeline associated with such a process, and the funding needed to start the process. And we will be seeking council direction on the process as well as when you would like us to start. So we are recommending to go with a RFQ or request for qualifications to solicit and select a design firm for this noteworthy project. We, of course, would be seeking firms with experience in designing such iconic park spaces envisioned for Rudy Loop. We would, of course, follow all of the SWAM program goals for the city, and we would want the firm to look at the entire Rudy Loop project comprehensively from the get-go, including any type of potential parking deck, parking garage, or related development. We'd want it to be designed in sync. We'll talk about later how, when it comes to construction, those two elements could be split at that time. But in terms of design, working on it all at once. When we put out the RFQ, it would, of course, like all RFQs, contain the intent and purpose of this development and the project. We would provide all pertinent materials that we have for the design firms to look at. And we would require the RFQ respondents, of course, to have the experience and qualifications to do such a project. We would ask them to provide at least 5 examples of a similar project experience, complete with pictures and renderings of what they've done. 2 examples of where they delivered meaningful public engagement, and describe their approach and design development process for the Rudy Loop project. If we go down this path, our plan would then be to solicit for the RFQs and then assemble an internal team of city staff made up of these departments that would review all of the RFQs received. The staff on this team would probably come up with the top 2, perhaps top 3 firms based on various criteria and what we see. And then we would check in from City Council at that time. With City Council's concurrence, that those are the top 2 or 3 terms to move forward with, this review team would then interview all the firms and then come back to City Council for selection of the top firm to hire. Once hired, this design firm would enter into the public input process for the design. We'll talk a little bit about more later about timing, but this would be a very robust public input process. It would include likely a multitude of methods, including public surveys, meetings with various stakeholder groups, public meetings open to the public throughout the city, individual meetings with city council members, etc. The firm would also likely provide a market study and recommendations for any proposed desired parking deck. After the design firm has all of this robust information, which will likely take a year plus, they would then develop a concept plan or variations of a concept plan for eventual approval, which would bring the city council for final approval. This entire phase, by the way, would take about 1.5 years to get to a final approval by city council. Once the design is approved by city council, we would then go to construction drawings, which would then give us the opportunity to go out to bid for construction at a date probably about 1 year after that. It's at this point, as I mentioned earlier, where the project could be bifurcated or separated, one construction company doing the park, one doing the parking deck based on experience and expertise of the firm selected. So very quickly on time frame, this is what we're looking at. From the moment that the city says go, We're looking at about a 10 to 12 month process to get out an RFQ and get a design firm hired. We're looking about 15 months to a year and a half before that design firm then goes through the robust public input process and has a design that is approved by City Council. And then at that point, we'd go into phase 2, which would be actually putting together the construction drawings to go out to bid for construction. What's this going to cost? To get a design firm on and to get to design an approved design, we're looking for a $4 million CIP project. At this time, it's my understanding that the funding source for this project will be the TIP funds unless directed otherwise. We could start immediately, or we could defer the project at least until next fiscal year based on city direction. The second part would be construction drawings. We'd probably need $6 million in that, although we would know for sure a lot better, firmer number once the design is complete. And then we're looking at a park construction budget of anywhere from 40 to 60 million, depending on multiple factors, one of the largest factors being a proposed or potential parking deck and what that would all entail. So at this point, we're asking for city guidance. Is this a process you're comfortable with and you'd like us to proceed with? When do we start? Do we start now during a mid-year appropriation and set the CIP now and go out for the RFQ within the next few months? Or do we wait until the next fiscal year to begin? Again, the RFQ process itself probably take up to almost a year, depending on how that goes, the bids that are received, how they're reviewed, et cetera. And then you can see the funding that will be needed for the entire project down below. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over for questions or comments.
Any questions, Rosemary, then Chris?
Fantastic.
Very exciting.
Fantastic job. This has been a long time coming, and it looks like it's going to be a long time going, too. It's going to take a long time. So I would like for us to, let's get on with it, and let's go ahead and get started. But also to include somewhere in here to do outreach to the community for fundraising. I think there would be a lot of interest, people who would like to be part of this. We do have the foundation, the Parks and Rec Foundation could be an umbrella. The funds could be passed through there, which would be tax deductible, but engage some other community people to help with the fundraising, kind of like maybe what we had done at the Sandler Center. And it's going to take a long time, so let's not delay it any further. I would really like to see us move on, and I hope that my colleagues will agree with me.
Okay, Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Kirschman, and congratulations on your recent award, you and the entire team. I was reading this presentation is a little bit different than the memo we received, so you did answer some of my questions, but in reading the memo that we received in our package, I did have some questions because I've heard back from some regional players, and we've been consistent that it has to be a nationally known. So I was just wondering why so much focus on nationally.
I'll take international either as well. So basically what we want is a firm who has designed world-class public spaces. Nationally known is a kind of a vague term, but an understood term in terms of you have done signature projects and other firms know who you are, will recognize your projects, and you've put together some really good stuff out there to look at. How we define nationally known is a squishy thing, but we're really looking at their expertise in designing public spaces.
And then secondly, you mentioned kind of the opportunity to separate, but again, in this memo, it says RFQ process to hire a nationally known park planning and design consulting team to design, I circled that, and develop Rudy Loop together or separately, because that seems to be together.
I'll turn it over to Chad to talk about the exact process.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Just to clarify, during the concept planning process would be the time where we want to look at this holistically, make sure the parking garage, parking deck is in the right location and looks, the park coming first, but where does the parking garage fit in to tie in and make this a cohesive project? When it gets time to the nuts and bolts and the construction drawings, might be the time where you can kind of separate the two projects and design the parking deck separately from the park space.
So, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Kirschman mentioned it in the presentation. the goal here is once they have the selected firm, part of the scope of selected firm is to come up with a concept design for a park, but also, as you all discuss, come up with a concept through studies as it relates to what options you all may want to consider for the parking garage. Remember when we presented to you all, we presented a regular parking garage with nothing on it, parking garage with commercial, parking garage with commercial, and maybe a version of residential, right? Those options will come from either the design firm or a sub-consultant of the design firm that we presented to this body, for this body to let us know how they want us to handle that component of the project, right? And I think that's when, that's where, once we get that direction from council, then that could help determine where do we go from there, right? That may mean that we need to get another expert to focus on that garage development thing, wherever council sends us, or it may make sense to just continue it all with one particular firm, right? But I think what we're saying here is that we're trying to create different opportunities to come back to council so council could weigh in and tell us what the final rendition of this should look like.
And, Patrick, if I could say in response to that, I think we have to be open-minded and, really entertain, opportunities rather than limiting opportunities. Once again, as we come to financing a garage, if we can find a tool that would help do that and maybe set a standard for the other garages that we're going to need. Obviously, this is not the only garage we're going to need at the oceanfront. If we look at one of the problems that we have, even with our residents, they're adverse to come to the Virginia Beach sometime because of parking. So if we can come up with some type of template where we can generate income to help pay for it. So my thing is, rather than limit, let's be open to every opportunity. Let's put it on the table and, see if we can come to a win-win. But once again, maintaining the integrity that this is going to be an open space park with hopefully some activities where people and children can come. And I think Chris brought it up earlier, keep, youth with sports minded. There's a plethora of opportunities here. I say let's exploit all of them. And does anybody object to saying we'll go forward? Oh yeah, please.
Appreciate that about the opportunity because I was surprised when I saw the memo. Again, it's a little bit different than the presentation, but the public was pretty clear they weren't very interested in having a ton of retail and multifamily. So when I saw the wrapping upper floors, and so Mayor Dyer, you bring up a great point about opportunity because now that the original RFI for the Rudy's kind of gone away, we were presented with an opportunity in June, at the end of June, where we had a local individual stakeholder that has some property, and they were proposing the opportunity to work with us to build some parking down there. And so my hope would be if this is back on the table, even though the public doesn't necessarily want a ton of retail multifamily, that we would at least hopefully give that individual the opportunity that we didn't give in June to share what they would like to do at that location.
Okay.
Thank you.
Worth and then Barbara.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Kirschman, and also congratulations again on your recent award.
Thank you.
I concur with what everyone's saying here. Let's move forward. The public wants an open space public park. Mr. Kirschman, can you explain to us what $4 million means for a consultant? Some of the public might want to know what that sounds like a lot of money for a consultant. What would go into that $4 million? And then I have one other point, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Sure. So that would get us all the way to an approved design. So the visuals, the schematics, but really it's all their time, all their public input, all the meetings, all their travel, and then their design work, designing the park, not to construction drawings, which would go out to bid, but we have an approved design at the end of the day with visuals. The public has seen it, council has seen it. We've had a year of input from this design firm, and they would put together that design for us to review. That's the end product, but the money really goes to their time and expertise throughout this entire year and a half.
Thank you. And then to reiterate what you just said, Mr. Mayor, I do think that we need to look at other parts of the loop. As Councilman Taylor said as well, there is a person that has some adjacent property that could add to this or may not, and then also consideration of the Schooner Hotel. I mean, that's right there, and I think we have to consider that. So, but ultimately, it's going to be a big ticket. It's a lot of money, $40 to $60 million, and so we need to be aware of that.
Thank you, Barbara. And then Sabrina.
Well, I see on this memo, it says that the bill payer for the Rudy Loop development, unless otherwise directed, will be the TIP fund. We keep spending the TIP fund. And we just say, oh, it's going to come from the TIP fund, like that's an unlimited pot of money. And I think we kind of need to look at just what the projections are and where it's going and how it's being spent. I believe recently the hoteliers did agree to not sunset the tax that they were, the additional room night tax that they were collecting. And I think they assumed that there was a good plan. It's been a while since I've seen that. I would like to have that brought back to us so that we can see and we can all be on the same wavelength to just what the potential sources are. And, you can only spend money one time. And if you don't watch out, we're going to be spending it more than we've got. And I think we really need to be careful. I mean, we look at some of these things that we're talking about we want to do, and there are some mighty big numbers here. And I think we need to really look at the TIP fund and see what the projections are, how much is going to be available and so forth. And I think before I'm ready to make any kind of decision on a major allocation such as this, I really need to see that. So the sooner that we can get that presentation, the better it would be.
All right, anyone else? Amelia?
I just wanted to ask where you have part 1, part 2. Which portion are you planning to do first? The park portion or the parking?
It would all be designed at the same time, but construction drawings would come second. So construction drawings might go to a different firm if there's a firm with better expertise. Right now, the ask is to start to get to a final design. We're seeking $4 million as of right now from the TIP fund to start the process, or at city council direction to wait until next fiscal year or a later date.
So basically what Michael's asking, if council wants us to start the design now, and we need about $4 million to authorize to move forward with it. And then the rest of it, we could determine as part of the regular budget process. Or if council doesn't want to start now, we can take it up as part of the regular budget process. Currently, right now, the TIP fund balance is around $40-ish million. And also, we're planning to brief council about the TIP and the balance in the 5-year forecast.
Sabrina, please.
I just wanted to just concur, which was already mentioned, and you mentioned as well, to be open to other opportunities in developing this project. And when you said that, I was thinking about the opportunity that was presented to us by a local individual, and I certainly would like to see that particular opportunity reviewed and that individual given an opportunity to talk about and provide an opportunity for this project. So we want to really make sure that happens.
Okay, thank you, Sabrina. Okay, Josh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Kirschman, for the presentation. I know we all heard the public say that their preference for this property is a park, and I think we've got a process in front of us, and I don't see any reason to delay moving forward with the process, especially since it looks like it's going to be a lengthy process, and people have been waiting for quite some time for this. I agree with the mayor in that I think we should be in that letter, Councilman Taylor, that you referenced that we received. Some of the rub, so to speak, is going to be on what the appropriate mix of uses is going to be. And I think we all probably agree if we're going to build an iconic park, people need to park somewhere. So I think looking at some of those other kind of supporting uses and what might make sense to help augment the park as an experience for visitors and residents. And to the mayor's point, what might help pay for the park, because it's not just going to be the $40 to $60 million to build it. We're also obviously going to have an annual operating carry So to the extent possible, while still respecting and preserving the public's vision for this to be a true public space, I think we've also got to be honest with people and explain to them some of the challenges that might be associated with paying for something like that on an ongoing basis without any supporting infrastructure to help pay that bill. So I think it was a great point you made, and I agree with it.
Hey, thank you. Anyone else at this point? Yeah, I think what we have here is the Fram oil commercial. Pay me now or pay me later. One way or the other, we're going to wind up paying for it. And I think it's going to be a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And I think we should take that first step to get to where we're going. Because once again, like Josh said and Rosemary, this is going to be an iconic thing and a jewel of Virginia Beach. And it's going to give people, it's going to give children and families another place to go at the beach. That's positive. So it's okay. We move forward.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Mayor, for clarity, so what I'm hearing from council is that they're okay with staff bringing forward an ordinance for funding for the $4 million to start the design process. The rest of it would obviously have to be determined as part of the regular budget process.
Great.
Okay.
Everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wait a minute, are we approving just around this table here, 4 million? No, we have to.
No, he just said he's going to do an ordinance.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
I said bring forward an ordinance
Okay,
for
all right.
consideration.
Yeah, and there would be public discussion and everything. So, the way to do it. Okay?
And then
Can't
one more.
happen until November anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. One more thing to clarify from city council. Remember when we previously discussed, when we previously showed you all the presentation and you gave us direction to come back here and what the design process could look like. We did talk to council about the fact that the city owns a good portion of the land, but in the middle of it, the VBDA owns a significant portion of the land as well. So that's going to have to be another decision point that we hope to bring to council when you make that discussion about how to handle the development of the garage, because there may need to be a need to transfer or swap land so you can have a more contiguous park. But no decision needs to be made at this time, right? But just letting you know, probably sometime down the road that you're going to have to make those decisions as well.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of moving parts. Let's do what we got to do, take our time, effort, and get to a win-win. Okay?
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
All righty. Now we're, I believe, city council discussions and comments. Anybody? Sabrina?
I wanted to just elaborate a little bit on the recognition that our Parks and Recreation Department received. I kind of feel like I'm a part of that whole recognition because I remember hearing Mr. Kirschman talk about it year after year. And I'd just like to say, I know that it's not a single effort. It's you along with your staff and everyone involved. Just your commitment and the tenacity to succeed. I remember how you were just so close one year and you were talking about it and discussing how being runner-up and then contemplating on deciding whether you would pursue it again the next year. I am so glad that you decided to pursue, and you pursued and you gained that recognition. And it's important to note, it's well-deserved, of course, but it's an official 2023 National Gold Medal Award for excellence in parks and recreation management in the category for cities with populations over 400,000. So I just want to say congratulations to you and your staff. Excellent, phenomenal job. What an example of tenacity and commitment to pursue such a wonderful recognition for our city and our community. Congratulations. Well done.
Just wanted to recognize the CLPSS youth for coming in this weekend. They chose Virginia Beach volleyball tournament. They had over 93 teams and 1,000 participants that came to Virginia Beach and support the Sportsplex this weekend. So again, sports coming into town. And a lot of these individuals were hotel owners, so it's pretty neat to experience that. And then just for the public, I sent our city council a note. We last month we held, or this month, we held the Culture Meets Commerce, and we're looking at planning the second one. And we have a relationship with the Zyder Theater. But in order to have the event there, we do have to take care of the staff. So in full transparency, I did send a note to the city council. It's going to be under $300 to take care of that, but I wanted just the public to know that I have requested the staff to move forward, but I do need city council support. And then third, there has been some chatter, especially as we talk about sports, talk about the ocean front, talk about investments, about this iconic surf park, Atlantic Park. And so I have asked the manager. We've received some documents that the city attorney has notified me are public now. And so there is some discussion around additional phases and what that looks like. And so I think the public needs to be aware of these ongoing discussions, the request. And so I've asked the city manager to provide an update to the public on every penny that has been appropriated and spent since the budget. Because at this point, we have many projects before us, and I just want to make sure that District 8 constituents, as well as the city, understand that we are being transparent as it relates to these projects. So thank you.
You know, and I think you bring up some very good points. A lot of people want to come to Virginia Beach now for a lot of reasons, whether it be sports, whether it be for activities, things of that nature. And Amelia, you were spot on when you said the safety at the ocean front is now a point of pride for our city. So, but once again, all these things that we're talking about are positives, and that Virginia Beach is the destination these days. Okay, anyone else? Amelia and then Rosemary.
Okay, going back to something that Councilman Taylor mentioned at the Zyders, which is in my district, which I didn't really know much more about it until I saw the letter. Can you talk a little bit more, because you're mentioning for the staff for $300 and some dollars, right?
Yeah, so we have a relation, or maybe more prudent to have one of the staff members come up, but we have a relationship with Zyder Theater where we're able to hold events there.
Yes, we do have that, because I did call once I saw that and talked with Ms. LaBose, and she said that at least there are 20 days of events that are open as part of the relationship, to the city. And then there's the $50, I think, fee. But the additional logistics for something else happening there, like the 300 and some. I think you said you have sponsors for food?
Yes, so to your first question though, so it's not just the $50. If you have individuals in their theater, they have to have staff there. And so we have an agreement that we take care of that staff. So for this
Right.
event, they're saying that they would need to have 2 staff members there during the event. That's where that additional expenditure is coming from.
Right, so we want the city to pay for it, or
That is the norm.
300 and something? I mean, can you talk to that? Because, okay,
The city policy on that one, council adopted a policy last year that if it's anything above a nominal cost, and council defined a nominal cost as $50, that you have to get the affirmative approval of city council. I think what Councilmember Taylor was suggesting is that he's asking that we bring forward something for council to consider pursuant to that policy. For Councilmember,
paying that? I mean, as a group, that we pay for that?
the council would have to pass a resolution or ordinance for that.
Yes. It's a commerce and culture, right?
Culture meets commerce.
Yeah, if you can say a little bit more about it. The reason is, if any of us, that would set a precedent, if any of us use that beyond the 50, and we have 2 people, each of us have the opportunity to ask for $335, which is really chump change. But just asking, with the resolution, would that be applicable to all of us for something like that?
I think with the council policy is that anytime council wants to have a forum or event that uses, needs resources beyond $50, that doesn't meet the minimum requirements of a town hall, and you need staff resources, the body, city council, needs to affirm that via ordinance, right? It's similar to the request Councilmember Wooten's making right now with the Level Green Festival. That policy kicks it, that council has to vote to support it.
And Amelia, if I can say, a couple of years ago, I helped sponsor a play that I saw on suicide in the African American community. That was a very, very touchy issue. And I saw the play at a local church. I was very impressed by the message. And Prince Cree and his did a wonderful, wonderful job, and it was well attended. And I did ask for sponsorship on that. And I think it's available to everybody for a worthwhile initiative,
You
especially.
asked for a private sponsorship,
Yeah. No, no,
not the city.
no. I'm pretty sure we got it somehow. But yeah, yeah. I'm not sure, but I
think it
was
was
able to
all
get
city.
the
I think you
desired
had
sum.
private funding. for that.
Right, there was
Yeah.
private funding.
Okay, but once again, I think it's if we're going to have an ask that I think it is beyond reasonable. I think we can discuss it further, but
I just, was asking.
yeah, but once again, it's the type of thing that where we're talking about the community and things of that nature. If there is some value there, and it's not a significant cost, and the other thing is getting people that even go into your district. That's good, Chris.
that's
And
good.
Dr. Ross Sanders, she
Yeah,
asked
that's
a
good.
specific question. This is sponsored by the city of Virginia Beach. The first one that we had where Councilmember Berlucci was there was just at a restaurant, so we didn't have to pick a venue. But the flyer, this event is free and open to the public. It is sponsored by the city of Virginia Beach. And since you asked a specific question, this is for the creative, entrepreneur, and corporate business communities to network and connect. Culture Meets Commerce will meet at various locations that highlight a unique business offering showcasing the rich cultural diversity of the Virginia Beach community. So this is not a Councilman Taylor event. The first one was sponsored by the city. It was just free. So if there is, like I said, I wanted to bring it in the public comment. If we do decide that this is something we don't want to do, that way we can pick another location, and then I'll make sure that we're very consistent to not go down that route.
I'll tell you what, this is a good conversation to have, because obviously every council person here wants to get into the community and, engage people throughout the city, especially with the new 10-1 system, that we have. But once again, the other thing is too, we also have default locations. You can get ATC with no problem whatsoever. There's no charge at all there. So once again, even though, sometimes if certain venues fail, there are other options. And I think that, that might be useful. Michael.
Mayor, I have no specific, issue with the request that's the topic of the discussion, but I do think we need to have some understanding about where this body and as a community we're headed in terms of what we would like and what the public would like us to do in terms of our public programming and engagement schedule. And I'll give you an example. I hosted a community event at the Philippine Cultural Center of Virginia, which was a non-city building, and they waived the fees, including the staff expenses. And we have a relationship with them too. So I guess I would have a little concern that perhaps there's a disparity in one group waives the fees and then another group insists that we pay fees, and then another group could say, well, wait a minute, I didn't know that was, we waived them to be a community partner and now this group didn't. And so I think we do need to establish some consistency about that. And I think a good way to do that is either to use a venue that doesn't charge a fee or to or use a city venue. And so I don't know if that's something Mr. Taylor will consider. I agree with him. And I agree with what you said. I don't think the $300 expense is unreasonable at all. It's just that I don't think it's equally applied.
Right.
And that could present problems moving forward. So I don't know, Mr. Taylor, if that's something you don't have to now, but you might want to consider for the future or now. But it's just something that came to my mind as part of that discussion, because I just, as I said, had a community meeting and the fee was at a non-city building and the fee was waived. So should we pay their staff? And then and then what about food or AV fees? And so I don't think there's consistency. But that's going to be normal as we negotiate through this process. So I think we need to have a kind of a understanding on what's the best
Why don't we have a
practice.
discussion of that at a future work? Okay, Barbara?
Just to be clear, I did have a informational meeting for my community last week because of a rushed issue, and I used an off-site facility, and I paid the cost. Don't intend to ask the city to pay back. I fully paid it my own and don't expect anything from the city, so I just want to make that clear, since I did do that last week in an off city site. And I did it, I paid for it, and that's the end of it.
Okay. Okay.
Just to keep it clean.
Please.
So what I'll do is I'll reach out to the designer and I'm in the small business community. We will find sponsors and then just keep in mind going forward until there's a policy. The position is we don't want to spend.
That'd be great, but maybe we can come up with a list of venues that the city has or friendly organizations that could at least in the interim.
We have a brand new pavilion at Great Neck. It's just not the Zyder Theater. That's a cultural location, but nonetheless.
That's a good site, just opened.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, Rosemary, did you have something?
Oh, I was just going to say, this is sort of uncharted waters, you know, this is kind of new for us doing it, so I think we need to figure out exactly how we want to handle it.
Yeah, let's come back, we'll come to a win-win on this, okay? Amelia?
Okay, just something different concerning the Housing Advisory Board. There's one, I went to that on Monday, and they established the maximum affordable rents and sale prices for workforce housing units, which was good, listening to their the different people speak about that. So that was done. For the transportation, we are going to have on November 7th, free rides, so bus, ferry, Paris Transit, so to get people for the voting. So it's just announcing that. And then the other thing that was important is, and I'm sure you know about this, the Transportation Improvement Program approved by the HRTPO Board last May have received federal approval and went into effect as October 1st, 2023. The new transportation improvement, over 260 transportation projects within the Hampton Roads region with a total funding amount of $2.8 billion. So I thought that was noteworthy to share. Another part that I mentioned, the Minority Business Council had their meeting and they are interested in adding something to the legislative packet. So maybe Dana is around, but that is something we plan to move forward. And the last thing, I'm thankful to Kathy Warren and our budget, Kevin Chatelier, who worked with me. We've had several meetings to do with the SSD in the town center area. It was a small group, but they presented not only to the CBDA, but also went back to the town center to share all the information they brought forth. So nothing is confirmed, but at least they sat and they listened. It was a start.
Everything's definitely tentative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Okay, Josh and then Rosemary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to acknowledge a really wonderful event that I had an opportunity to attend, and I had to leave in order to tuck the kids in, and Councilwoman Ross Hammond came toward the end. This past weekend was Forging Unity in Western Bayside, and that was a program that was put on by Virginia Wesleyan. So we joined members of our public safety community, Parks and Recreation staff, and really it's meant to be a collaborative exchange aimed at creating a unified vision for taking action and creating some positive change in Western Bayside, which encompasses both District 4 and District 9. A nod to Miss Kelly Jackson and her team at Virginia Wesleyan for putting on the discussion, and I believe the next installment will be on November 14th.
Okay, thank you. Worth.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm sorry, Rosemary, then Worth.
Oh, I just wanted to say I had my town hall meeting last Thursday night, and Patrick, your staff that came were absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, we have to remember that these folks, they work all day and then they give up an evening to come and help support us. And Chad Morris, who was here earlier, I don't know if Chad's still, he's still here. He did a great job. We always get excited about Parks and Rec. And Chuck Rigney came and talked about the Amazon project because, you know, Amazon's in District 5, and there were a lot of questions about that. And then Pamela Shine, she did a phenomenal job on talking about homelessness. And then LJ Hansen talked about the recycling program. And I think the more we can talk about that and get that information out, the better, because that's a train coming down the track. It's coming soon. But anyway, just want to thank you and your staff for being there. And Corporate Landing Middle School, they were a wonderful host. I think we had about 60 people come.
Okay, Worth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just two things real quickly. Following up on the economic impact report studies earlier to us, this weekend is the Boardwalk Art Show. So we still have events going on this year at the resort. This is again, an authentic event for the city. We also have Jeep Fest later this month, and then also a Wicked Run on Halloween weekend. So a lot more happening at the resort the rest of the year. And then also, again, I'm on the Sand Soccer High right now. I will be asking you all to sponsor with me or support an ordinance. So they have an extra ask and a request that we need to deal with. So, look for that soon. Thank you.
Yep, good idea. Barbara?
On Sunday, the Senior Resource Center at Creed's observed its 16th year in operation. This is, if you don't know about it, is, I think, the best, least costly service that we provide in the city. We do allow the use of a building that was unused that the city owned, but it's totally operated by volunteers, and it provides services every day in all kinds of ways, strictly by volunteers. And I invite any of you to go down there and see what goes on there. But it's kind of unbelievable that we've been doing this for 16 years, and the service that this facility and all these volunteers provide is not something that the city could afford to pay for. And I think, talking about volunteers, that's one of the best examples we've got.
They had a great St. Patrick's get together a couple of years ago. Very good.
They're always
The
doing good
food
things.
was excellent.
Can't believe it's been that long, Barbara.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else at this point? Okay, how about agenda review?
Okay, agenda review. We have a lot of things before we get public comments and public hearings and all that, but ordinance and resolutions. We have speakers on number 1 and number 3. We're going to defer number 6 till October 24th.
Vice Mayor, are we pulling, are we saying it?
Yes, we're pulling number 1. You want number 2 pulled?
Please.
Okay.
Just, I have comments.
And then I just have a question, Council Lady, on number 4. I really want to support this, but one issue though that I have is the insurance. I'm concerned about us waiving the insurance, because then if somebody gets hurt, then the city is responsible. Would you consider removing the insurance from this?
So let me explain this for you. And what I will do is, first off, I want to say thank you to Council Members Remick, Taylor, and for the mayor for sponsoring this to get on the agenda. And so when I had a conversation as to the best way to proceed with a youth fun fall event just for the community of Level Green Boulevard, the neighborhood in College Park, just to engage our youth, because they do need activities in District 7. It's really important. It addresses the need in terms of keeping them engaged so they're not involved in other activities, and it gives them an outlet. And so that was the reason behind the ask. However, in planning it was suggested, if you're going to do this, you will need city council's approval, which is fine. But as I had mentioned, we have sponsors for everything, food, entertainment. And the only reason why I had to come to the body was because I was told there's a council policy that requires that the event be reviewed by council and approved. And so, like you, many of the members here, there was an email that I saw that brought up some information about the insurance and some other issues. And so what I would really like to do, just to negate all of that, is to ensure, if I still need the city's approval, certainly it's fine to get that approval, but the permit, the insurance, that will be taken care of. I don't need the city to provide that. I will make sure I have the insurance and the permit as well taken care of, because I don't want it to put any, cast a light or negative light in any way for people to think the city is, doing something that is not offered to them. And I want to make sure this event goes forward. So we'll take care of the private insurance and the permitting fee. If I still need the approval and to go forward, I could do it that way. Otherwise, it's not necessary.
Mr. Mayor, if Councilmember Wooten, if there's no need to waive the permit fee or waive the insurance, then you don't need city council approval. You're
You just
basically,
withdraw the item.
yep, yeah.
So that's what I will do. And in the spirit of making sure this goes forward with no undue issues or concerns.
Okay, but, Michael, please.
I have a comment to make about this that that may or may not be germane on the decision to withdraw or not. And that is because I guess I have a question about the requirement for the insurance. And I think there's been some misunderstanding about this. One is Councilmember Wooten did get sponsors from the community, and one of those sponsors is a political candidate, which is not uncommon. But I think the larger question is, Councilmember Wooten is asking to use a city park. I'm concerned about this as a precedent. Councilmember is asking to use a city park for a District 7 community event. We all do those types of things all the time. Admittedly, because it's a fall festival, and I think there could be some amusement there, there's definitely, some liability questions at hand. But on the other hand, if I have a town hall at Bow Creek Rec Center, I'm not required to get insurance. And while there may not be an amusement there, I did serve food. What's the difference? The floor could be wet. What's the difference? I guess I'm having trouble understanding what the difference is.
Patrick.
There's a city code that talks about events and festivals at city parks that details out the requirements on it, right? And if you're doing a town hall, that's not the same kind of thing. Like if residents are doing a meeting in a recreation center facility or library, we don't require them to fill out a permit. We don't require them to get insurance, right? But if you are renting a park for an event where you're going to bring a significant amount of citizens and residents and vendors, then the city policy requires that you fill out a permit, pay the permit. If you need to, some of these events triggers a certain number of needs for health department response or public safety response, EMS, police and fire. And also it dictates that you have to provide insurance. So it's not for like town hall meetings and things like that, but if you're doing a festival and event, it's a policy that the city has adopted regarding providing this baseline level of insurance and safe public safety should the event trigger that based on certain thresholds.
And thank you. And if I could just follow up to say, I'm aware that there's a new community fall festival that the city is producing at Mount Trashmore. And I guess because it's a city event, those insurance requirements aren't. It's just the city self-insures. But
to clarify as well, the other vendors participating in that probably also have insurance as well. And the city, if it's a city department event where city appropriated funds for it, where council appropriated funds for it, then it falls under the city insurance.
yeah, but I guess that's what Councilmember Wooten is asking for is that it would be a city event, District 7 event that she obtained sponsorship for. I don't know. There are.
But I think,
If council passed that resolution, that's exactly what would
yeah,
happen.
That's exactly
basically
what would
it
happen.
do. If council passed it, it's basically saying that this is a city event. So like with the Parks event, council appropriated funds in Parks budget for them to do a fall festival. So in essence, that's what Councilmember Wooten was asking, for council to say my District 7 fall festival was a city event and for the city to take on the liability should something happen. So like if something happens in Parks and Recreation's fall festival and none of the vendors' insurance covers it, then it'll be the city that'll be ultimately probably liable after, court proceedings.
Yeah, but I just don't necessarily see the difference. And to me, it would be different. And I guess this is just a discussion for the body, but it would be different if we're working through these things, which is normal, but it would be different if Councilmember Wooten was asking for the city to pay for the amusements. But since she's not asking the city to pay for these, she's just asking for the use of the city park to do a District 7 community event. I personally don't have a problem with it, so.
And I think that what Vice Mayor Wilson was saying, she didn't want the city to be liable if anything happened. And so because of that, that's why I said, well, just certainly don't have to worry about that. And, even with the gentleman's email I received, he mentioned, why don't you just do it on your own and don't worry about, use your own resources. Fine with that, that's not a problem. But let's remember, as a district city council member, this is a city event for the citizens of the district where I serve. And so we have, as a city department, as a city, we're set up to do those things because we serve the community. We serve the citizens. And so that's why I had requested it, because those two things are tied. It's not a personal thing I'm doing to have fun and celebrate someone. No, this is for the citizens in the District 7 and the youth there. But as I mentioned, I'm happy to withdraw it and take care of the insurance privately and the permit.
Okay, Amelia.
And just to, say what you've mentioned, which is important, because when we have a festival, we know there's the city part, but we still have insurance, just like you're going to do now, because that covers you and covers, beyond just what the city offers. Even when we did something on the oceanfront, we got a separate insurance. This is important. Doing these things cost. And you got to be ready to work along with the city that they have their insurances and you have something, that covers your end. So that's the idea that you're doing, because I know I was going to bring that up too about the insurance, but she's already mentioned that it's just for the citizen. Now she's saying for a political, is there, was what he's talking about?
Well, I think the difference with what you're mentioning is a private organization. See, what I was doing is something separately for the community, not under an organization or not for an organization, strictly for the community. So I think that's a difference there. So you would certainly need to have private insurance there.
Yeah,
But that
we
was
did it
different.
Like we did the Juneteenth, we got private insurance as well, besides what we do. And that was city helping. So it just covers yourself. And so I'm glad, you're going to do that. So it's just for that, but not for one or two political people.
I don't understand.
You
I don't
mentioned
understand
about,
what you're talking about.
No,
Okay.
what I mentioned was there was a sponsorship from a political candidate, which I don't think is I think that is within the realm of what's a political candidate offered sponsorship of the community festival.
so are they listed or it can be
They're
just
listed
by
as
part?
they're listed as a sponsor.
Okay.
But I don't think I think that's standard recognition.
Mhm. And it's irrelevant now because I'm pulling the item.
Rosemary?
I just want to thank you for your, graciousness and, because like I said, I wanted to support it, but the insurance was troubling to me. And I had done something probably about 4 years ago at Mount Trashmore, but I paid for the permits, I did everything, like that. But, we're just starting to look at some different things that we haven't done before, the unchartedness. These are good conversations to have.
Yeah, definitely. All those are certainly different items, different agendas.
We'll come out and support you.
I appreciate that.
Chris? So just to be clear, as a body, we're deciding at this point, if we're going to do city events as elected officials to promote whatever it may be, at this point until a policy is determined, I'm not talking about private organizations, I'm saying in the capacity as council members.
Right.
If it's over 50, forget about it unless it's a city-owned venue, so we can be consistent.
Yeah.
Clear? Perfect.
Patrick?
The policy that y'all adopted last year covers this, right? And the policy that you all have says for town halls, our staff is authorized to provide you this level of service without coming back to council approval, right? Anything above $50,000 or requires $50.
Wow.
To rent the
No, we're talking about inflation.
and needs city staff or resources beyond what you all authorize us to provide you all for town halls needs to come back to this body for approval, right? I think previously when this came up, council said there's a whole host of free facilities, right? So if a council member wants to, and this is your policy, if council members want to rent a facility over $50, it has to come back to this body or use city staff and resources beyond what you authorize us to provide you in town halls. Council could take that policy and have a discussion and change it if it desires, but that was something that y'all came up with last year.
If I could just say this, it's a great discussion, and, certainly now with the 10-1 system, we should encourage all individual council folks to have events at, those type of public gatherings. I think, speaking from my old physical therapist role, when you have activities like whether it be a trampoline or jumping around and everything, I think, unfortunately, kids get hurt sometimes too. And, but once again, let's get it to the point where people can comfortably feel having public events in there. And, Sabrina, I salute you. Thank you. Okay. All right. Rosemary?
Yes.
Go to
We're on to
planning.
planning.
Can you review what's full?
Ordinance and resolutions as well, please. I don't think we got through that.
1, 2, 3. Number 4 is withdrawn. Number 6 is deferred until October 24th.
We have speakers on, we have one speaker on number 6.
Okay.
Number 4. 4 was with John.
And then we'll defer it.
We
Okay.
just have one speaker, so you could just do it under the,
Are they speaking on anything else?
no.
Under planning, WW Realty's in District 2. (5309) Morse Neck Road.
That's
Is it
cool.
signed? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, guess what? We have speakers on number 2. So the list I've had so far is 28. Is there any more?
I'm sure there's more, I just haven't gotten it.
So on that one, I would note that around this table, I saw an amended write-up, and I'm assuming that is what you will be considering.
It's the one where they closed Princess Anne Road entrance. Number 3, Commonwealth Brewing, District 9.
I haven't heard any objection.
Number 4, Commonwealth Brewing, number 9.
Ditto.
Number 5, Red Church, District 3.
Okay for consent.
Number 6, Christopher Gregory, Princess Anne, Witch Duck Associates. District 3. Number 7, Wycliffe is for, so there, yeah, there's one person that's signed up in support. Do we want to see if
I've tried, he definitely wants to speak.
they wants to speak?
I explained that it would be a long night.
Okay. And number 8, Emily Brown, District 8.
No issue.
Number 9, Launch Creative Space, District 8.
No issues.
Number 10, Marina Shores Repair Corporation,
No
District
issue.
8. Number 11, Bob Brothers, and there's a speaker only if it's. Yeah. So that'll be on consent. And then number 12 is the resolution to adopt and incorporate the Virginia Beach, the Historic Preservation Plan into the company. Everybody okay with that? Okay.
Okey-dokey. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to recess into a closed session pursuant to the exemptions from open meetings allowed by section 2.23711A Code of Virginia is amended for the following purposes. Public contracts, discussions of awards of public contract involving the expenditure of public funds and discussion in terms of the scope of such contract where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiation strategy of the public body pursuant to section 2.23711A 29, and that's lifeguard contract and H Street. Personnel matters, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific, God bless you, public, that wasn't part of the reading. Appointees or employees of the public body pursuant to section 2.23711A1 and its council appointments, boards, commissions, committees, authorities, agencies, and appointees. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Okay.
Councilmember Belushi.
Aye.
Councilmember Henley. Councilmember Remick.
Aye.
Councilmember Ross Hammond.
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse absent. Councilmember Schulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Wooten.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wilson.
Aye.
Mayor Dyer.
Aye. Okay, we are recessed